Hey traders, and welcome to this week's weekly stock market wrap-up and outlook. We're just about to get started into the S&P 500. Now, as we can see from last week, what we were expecting was, or anticipating, was a quick pop higher into this sort of area, but we didn't see that at all. We actually seen this thing do nothing for the first couple of days, and then on the intradays it started to trend a little bit higher. And on Thursday, we've seen this a little bit more volatility, and got a bit of an outside reversal here, which I'll say, I'll say a lot of shorts got short on this move, expecting this to sort of head much lower, and I would say there'd be stop loss orders sitting around here. So to begin next week, we could see those stop loss orders hit, and this could fuel a move higher. And if you remember from the previous week, there'll be a lot of shorts from here still in, and their short stop loss orders will be sitting around here. And again, this could be something to fuel even higher, and before any sort of real rejection can happen. So we could see something like this where price then really starts to fall back down, rejects this again, and that's where we could trend back into this range and possibly head lower into here. But the most likely scenario that I'm personally seeing is, and thinking that could happen, is a pullback, a sort of a 50% retracement from this sort of move, and then start to see if there's any really good candle shapes, any price action I like, and then we could see something like that head higher again, in stopping out anyone who has been short here from all the way back into September of 2018. So there's a couple of things there to keep an eye on. Will they happen? Who knows? It's just one of those things you need to keep an eye on. Expect the unexpected, and yeah. So let's move on to volatility. Now, this is highly correlated to the S&P 500 whenever it's in volatile situations. Again, think of it in inverse. So remember, the S&P collapsed back in December, and then this thing ran really heavily. It then's just been on a complete sell-off ever since, lower lows, lower highs, and everything. So just look at this as sort of like a gauge as to what's happening in the market. If this thing starts to really pick up, then you get a little bit more concerned as to what's happening. But for now, yeah, it's not really much more to say on it. Oil, it's very nice looking here. Starting, I think we mentioned last week, an inverse head and shoulders pattern after a massive sell-off through the left shoulder, the head, and this is the right shoulder. And then this should be the neckline here, so roughly 54.5. Looking for any sort of rejections of this area, good price action, candle shapes, in order to look for any potential opportunities for next week or even the week after. Let's see what's Lithium. Really nice run this week, breaking above this long-term downward sloping trend line, which has been in place since, well, pretty much the end of 2017, start of 2018. So we've quite a bit to go, but yeah, I'm really liking this price action. It's helping to lift and drive enthusiasm towards the individual stocks which are lithium related that we've mentioned in our watch lists. Now, we're going to be keeping an eye on those, adding to more positions, and yeah, it's looking really promising at the minute. Now, let's move on to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a little bit more interesting. We're starting to see a little bit of a trend change here. So we've got a pop, and then another pop. Will we see another pop? It's hard to say. As long as we don't get any stupid random moves like this, what we've seen before, random downs and then random ups. This one was a bit more fluid. I covered in the last video, and yeah, we've seen a bit more fluid action here as well, which is really good to see. So if we can keep those up, yeah, I've got a portfolio of stock equities that are Bitcoin and are crypto and blockchain related. So I've got a few positions in them, and I'll be adding to them if we get some nice moves in Bitcoin. Now, XRP, there's nothing here. Gold, something covered in the Facebook group. You can see here we had a long-term downward sloping, or long-term trend line here, sort of downward sloping, and also a key resistive line. Now, as you can see here, it rejected the downward sloping trend line quite nicely. Didn't quite reach this, so going to keep an eye on this and see if there's any opportunities for next week, potentially shorter term. Looking for a specific price action and candle shapes. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that one. Now Neo still got a position in this, looking really nice. There was something on Twitter seen on Zero Hedge, you know, comparing this to like the Tesla killer and all this sort of stuff, which is a little bit hypish, but again, it's not untrue. It's a good competitor against Tesla. They're like the Tesla of China, and yeah, it's one I'm really interested in this stock. So good to see some price action starting to go a little bit more bullish, and yeah, keeping a very close eye on it. PYX. I covered this one in this week's newsletter, which will be out at the start of the week, and so basically just covering this position that I took as a swing position a couple of weeks ago. Ended up closing out on just after I took a screenshot on the 21st, and yeah, it was a pretty damn good trade, I think. I had originally taken one in the longer term account here and closed it out here and re-added to the position and held a reasonably tight stop and held all the way up to here. So I'll be looking for, there's a couple of ideas I'll be looking for on the technical side. A few areas I have keeping a really close eye on. If they start to get reactive around those, I'll start to scale into another position, hopefully for the next week, and then possibly another swing trade. So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for this week. Any questions? Obviously do feel free to join our Facebook group. I'll leave the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe, and anything else in between, make sure you do comment, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks.